Hey guys, Cockerpunk here. It's been a while since I did an update. I figured I'd do an update. I've been getting a lot of response because people have been wanting me to do a video based on the dye matrix I showed off in one of my videos. So they were thinking if I could do an old guns tour on that, and well, the DM I have is an 03, which is a little bit too new in my opinion for a true old gun category, as per what I've been doing with my other videos. But I figured it has enough of the quirky features that I like about old guns to do a video on them. So I'm going to do a video on them. And that's the reason why I love old guns. Whenever somebody comes up with a great idea for, you know, like, let's say the personal computer, or, you know, the electro-pneumatic paintball gun, you know, any of these sort of technological breakthroughs, lots of people get the same idea and say, oh, if I was going to do it, I'd do it this way, and they come up with all these crazy ideas that we never see anymore today. But because it was the first generation of that gun or that, you know, technology, then it's craziness, and it's really interesting to see the thought process, in my mind anyway. And this old DM has enough of those features to consider it cool like that. That's why I love, you know, that's just why I love old guns, because they have crazy features like that. So, this is a dye matrix, which is, like I said, a little bit too new for what I'm really looking for. These came out in 03 when Dye bought the patents and the technology from Diablo, who bought them from someone else. The lineage on the design is really interesting, though. The guys who first made the Matrix, it was originally a mechanical gun run off of a Cocker type three-way. That's why it's a control, like a fixed control volume gun, because that's the only way you can chronograph. It's the only way you can get a gun to shoot consistent. Because if it was a free jet style, like say a G3 or something like that, then the longer you hold the trigger down, that's how long it would be shooting air out of it for, and you need a metered amount of air to get a consistent chronograph reading. So that's the lineage on the design, and actually the interesting thing also is the first matrices did not have a LPR. They were much like Shockers in the way that they only ran a single reg, but very quickly on, the company, I forget their name, I really should have looked it up before I did this, added an LPR to the gun. It's not Generation E, because I know they owned it after Diablo. The Matrix has gone through a lot of brands before Dye picked up their patents and stuff. But it was before Generation E, before Diablo. They realized early on the benefits of an LPR in a spool valve gun, something that Smart Parts has yet to understand, almost 10 years later. Anyway, so get to work on this gun. It sports the LPR right here. This has got a CP on there. They came with center flags, which is also a great reg. This is a LCD. The first ones had an LED board, which had two different chipsets, Gun 12 and Gun 20 chipsets, which allowed you to tune the board a little bit differently. The bolt kit on here is not like a fuse bolt kit where it threads together like a DM style nowadays. It's just a freely floating bolt kit in here. And out of the stock bolt kit, you can probably expect about 1,000 shots, maybe 1,100. Which is pretty bad, but I mean, it's like the first generation SFTs before the HE bolt, and you know, spool valves just, they get terrible efficiency. So let's actually get into this gun. One of the coolest old features that I love about this gun is this whole thing. Is I unscrew this guy back here, and out comes the breech. So this has the Cocker threaded barrel on it, the detents, and the feed neck. It all comes off with just one little thing with a rod that runs the whole length of the gun. So now, I'll show you the back here. The chipset and the LCD board takes up this whole area. So the battery is right here. And this is the back of the bolt kit. Obviously, we just need an Allen key to pull out the whole bolt kit. This is the front of the bolt kit. And actually, I can, sticking this guy in here, I can push out the bolt and retract it. Then here you see these two guys. One of these tubes, one of these gas transfer tubes here, well, obviously the middle one is for this guy right here. One of these gas transfer tubes transfers gas from this area up and into the back of the bolt kit where it is held. Because unlike the shocker, which holds its air reservoir right around the bolt, and then it has the ram back here, the the sail. The Matrix has the sail here and the air reservoir back here. So one of these guys, and I believe it's this side, transfers the air tube, or the air supply back there. The other one is just open, so you can just mill it off if you wanted to. But they didn't. I'm sure the only thing that runs in it right now is the eye wires, which the eyes are right here. Obviously the first guns didn't have eyes, and actually until the die version, none of them had eyes. So there's a very small hole drilled right here, and the eyes are right here, which actually makes cleaning the eyes really super easy, because you just pull this off, clean the eyes. Like, it's just as fast, if not faster, than most modern guns for cleaning the eyes. And of course, eyes on this kind of gun, many of these last generation blind guns, eyes were kind of weren't seen as required, because a well-tuned Matrix should bounce off paint pretty well. Same with a well-tuned LCD Angel, should bounce off paint pretty well. So, other than that, otherwise, so this is the 9-volt battery in this bottom tube, if you will. This is a single tube gun in that it has only a single tube of pneumatics. This bottom area is filled with the battery right here, and the solenoid is right here. And if I took off the grip frame, you could see it. It's a manifold mounted solenoid, which runs, it's kind of like off-centered a little bit, at least the output is, so that way it runs into the sail, which is right here, directly from the LPR into the sail. And that's pretty much the internal configuration on this gun. It's a groundbreaking gun in that it's like pretty much the first electro-pneumatic spool valve gun. It's fairly heavy, not terribly heavy. Of course, weight kind of pays off because it's probably one of the smoothest shooting guns to have ever existed. You know, if you want to argue about that, I'm not a stickler for weight. I don't personally care. Play with an RT Classic. Gun weighs like 3.5 pounds. Doesn't kick. But yeah, I make Snake with it and play Dorito side and whatnot. I don't think gun weight matters, but that's just my personal thing. Anyway, so this has been a run-through of the Matrix, which, as I said before, is maybe a little bit too new for what I'm looking for doing with the Old Guns tour, but people were asking for it, and it does have enough weird features that we just don't see today, like this removable breech, the battery in the body of the gun, and it's just design history. A lot went through this gun before it turned into the DM4. And that whole, you know, space dildo, I call it, style milling and layout. In the DM4s, they moved the LPR to back here, which I thought was a dumb idea. The Protos were way smarter in that they kept the LPR up front, and that allowed them to crunch up the body by quite a lot. So, it's a different layout of a gun. It's a different, it's definitely just of a different generation, even if it's a newer gun than what I usually talk about. So, one way to tell the difference between the dies and the non-die, the pre-die matrices, is this body cut. This is just a milled, like they just stuck this in a vise and milled it. It only goes to about here, rather than here. I'm sure they just cut that out for weight or whatever. That's great. So, you guys have a good one. Talk to you later.